Okay, the final thing that we're going to cover here is the performance, the user experience. Now, like I touched on before, the Motorola XOOM has more RAM in it, and it should perform better, but that's not necessarily the case. I have not tested these devices yet, so as I see it, you're going to see it. I have not put these devices head to head yet. So we're going to see if the extra horsepower actually matters, or if the usability on the iPad 2 is better. We're going to see that right now. Now, there are a couple of apps that I have on both devices. Now, one of those apps is Google Books. Okay, this is the same app on both devices. Now, Google Books gives you 3 books to start your collection with. I'm going to tap on Great Expectations here, and I'm going to tap on Great Expectations here. Okay? Now, I think I'm a little bit ahead here because I used this in one of my other videos. But you'll notice over here on the XOOM that the formatting is a little different, the text formatting. Okay? And let's swipe the pages at the same time. You get very similar performance out of them. You'll notice on the iPad that if you pull it from the upper right-hand corner, it kind of pulls the page a little bit more from the upper right-hand corner. If you do the same on the XOOM, it just kind of pushes the page no matter if you push it high or push it low. It's a little different animation here. Same program, but a little bit different on both devices. One thing to note is that Google Books does not work in a landscape mode on the iPad. However, it does on the XOOM. Okay. Again, you would expect, because it is a Google product, that they would flesh it out a little bit more on their own device. But this is pretty much a wash. I mean, you get better page animations on the iPad, but they're both very responsive, so it's the same app on both machines, and you get very similar performance, even though they're slightly different in what they do. The next thing I'm going to show you that's on both devices is Google Earth. Now, again, this is another Google, product, so you're probably going to see better performance on the XOOM, but it's one of the few that I could actually drum up that was a free app that I could find on both devices. Let's go to, I don't know, let's go to Moscow. And we're going to do the same thing over here, but we can actually do a voice search on this. Moscow, Russia. So again, it's a little more fleshed out on their own device, and that's understandable. So we're not going to award any points here. Again, what we're doing here is we're trying to compare the usability of both devices with each other. So that's why I'm using similar or same programs here. You can zoom in with this. Don't know if I zoomed in a little too much there. There we get some buildings there, and you can zoom in down here. Now the actual pinching and zooming is something that we might want to take note of and see what if one is more responsive than the other. It's pretty responsive there once everything loads in. Let's do the same thing over here. Both devices are very responsive to a pinch to zoom in this situation, so I don't see that one has an advantage over the other than, like I said, the voice commands are very baked into the Android device here. but they're both very responsive when it comes to the pinch to zooms. So there's no advantage on either one of them. It's just that the programs are slightly different. Let's get out of that. Let's see, what should we try next? I always hesitate to do a speed test because you get a different number every time you do it. But why don't we try it? We're going to do them one at a time here. Speed test would like to use your current location. Don't allow. I'm just going to begin the test over here. Now the speed test app is much cooler looking on the iOS device than it is on an Android device. Let's see how this performs. I don't put too much stock in this only because, like I said, every test you do is going to be different. And I don't want to do them at the same time because then they both use the network at the same time. So I'm just going to run them separately here. Okay. Download was 10.25 megabits a second, and then the upload was pretty low. Wow, 0.20 megabits per second. That is very slow on the upload. Let's see if it's any different over here on the Zoom. Now, this app only runs in portrait, so we will run it in portrait, and we will begin the test over here. Again, not as cool looking as the iOS version, but it will do the same thing here. Very similar download speed. Okay, so we ended up with a slightly better, by a hair, slightly better download speed on the iPad 2. It's 10.25 megabits per second over here and 10.025 over here, so slightly faster over here. Upload speeds were 0.2 over here, but 0.537 over here. So faster on the upload here. I don't really put a lot of stock in the speed test. Like I said, it's different every time, so I just ran it just so you could see the difference in the same program on both devices here. Now, one app which is quite annoying that I have on both devices is this Talking Tom app. So we're just going to run through it really quick and see if I can say something to him and make him who repeats it first. I hesitate to do this because I don't want to get a loop going on here, but let's try this. Apple iPad 2 versus the Motorola XOOM.
Apple iPad 2 versus the Motorola XOOM.
Zoom a zoom zoom.
Zoom a zoom zoom.
Well, actually looks like the Zoom got a little quicker than this.
Well, actually looks like the Zoom got a little quicker than this.
It's mostly identical, but that last time the Zoom was a little ahead.
It's mostly identical, but that last time the Zoom was a little ahead.
Alright, I can't tolerate that too much longer, but it looked like they were pretty much neck and neck in the beginning, but then the Zoom was a little faster. So, I don't know, for being, they're both dual-core devices, a little more RAM over here. That extra RAM will probably help in the multitasking aspect of it, or intensive programs, but it doesn't seem like there's any advantage that I've come across as of yet. The next thing we're going to get into is the browser here on both devices. Now you have a version of Google Chrome on this device, and you have Safari, you have mobile Safari over here. Now the thing I touched on earlier in one of my other videos is that this device here does not have tabbed browsing. This device does have tabbed browsing. And you can actually sync your bookmarks from your desktop computer onto this device here, which I already have done. I have a video on how to do it. These are all my bookmarks from my desktop computer. So that's a plus, and you also have tabbed browsing here. So you can just look up whatever you want, add another tab, add another tab. On this one, you have to keep going in and out. You just keep going in and out to another window, okay? Now that's not really a huge deal. It's just that everything is a little more on the surface over here than it is with the iOS here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to a website that I have not pulled up on either device before. So it's not going to be in a bookmark, and it's not going to be in just anything I've pulled up before. Okay, we're going to do a search on both devices here, and we're going to test the speed of the browsers. Now over here, in order to type something in, you bring up your keyboard here. And the one thing I did want to point out on the iPad is that your keys are always in uppercase, at least when you look at them. If you want to put it in uppercase, you click on the shift button over here, and when you do, the shift arrow turns blue. That's how you know if you're in an uppercase or a lowercase. Over here on the Zoom, it's different. Everything's lowercase, and then if you hit your shift button, they all look uppercase. So I kind of like that better because you know what you're typing there without having to look at the shift button, but we're not awarding points for anything like that. It's just something that I like. I just wanted to let you know about. There's a big earthquake in Japan today, so I'm going to look up Japan earthquake on both of them, and we're going to see what they bring up. And of course we're going through Google on both of them, so we're going to hit the first website that appears on the top of the list for that. So Japan earthquake, and let's see, Japan earthquake. I'm going to try and click both of these at the same time here. The iPad 2 was a hair quicker. Now our thoughts and prayers go out to all the people in Japan that had to endure that earthquake, an 8.9 on the Richter scale. But we're going to choose the first real article on both, which is the same, which it says magnitude 8.9 near the east coast of Japan. So we're going to click both of those at the same time and see which one brings it up first. The Zoom was a little quicker than the iPad on that. Now we're going to do a pinch to zoom test on this, and you get a lot of great performance out of the iPad here. Very responsive. And you get a lot of great performance, very responsive out of the Zoom too. Very comparable, very comparable. This was a little quicker to begin with, but then this was quicker. Let's try another one. Just to see if we can see if there is one that is head and shoulders above the other, or if it's just pretty much a dead heat. Let's go to the next one, Japanese earthquake and tsunami. iPad quicker on that one. Okay, try one more. Try and get a definitive winner on this, since they're basically trading back and forth here. And let's go to the next one here. Okay, both a bad page, so probably overloaded. Let's try the next one here. Okay, that one was sort of a dead heat when they were finishing around the same time. There's flash content on both sites here, so that won't show up. Like I said, flash is coming next week for the Motorola XOOM. So I don't know. I mean, they were a dead heat on the last one, so I don't know. There was slight advantage on the iOS here, but I don't think it was conclusive in either way as far as that goes. So again, the pinch to zoom is all very comparable, so that's a difficult one to to do. I wish there was a benchmark I could use on both devices that could be a definitive way, but none of the benchmark tools on Android work on iOS. Let's try one more. Let's get the last one on here. See if we can get a conclusive answer here. Maybe iOS had a slight hair advantage on that. It's too close to call as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not necessarily hitting them at the identical same time. I'm trying my best, but you know, I can only look at one thing at a time, so I'm trying to hit them at the same time, but it's just too close to call. So I can't really say if there's one better in performance. Like I said, they're both very good on the pinch to zoom, but I can't say for sure as far as performance goes. Maybe a slight edge to iOS. I don't know. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do and try and weed this out is the accelerometer on both devices here. We're going to see which one is faster. It's a lot easier to do this with phones, but we're going to try it with the tablets here. They're both in portrait mode. We're going to switch them to landscape and see which one is faster. Definitely iOS. iOS is definitely faster on the accelerometer. And I know this isn't the perfect way to see it, but I only have so much screen real estate here. Okay. Accelerometer definitely faster on iOS. So as far as usability, like I said, they both have the dual-core processor, but this has more RAM, but the Apple iPad 2 definitely holds its own and is a little more polished. There's a little more polish to the Apple iPad than there is to Android on the Motorola XOOM. So it's tough to say which one is necessarily better because they both perform very well. But the slight edge in performance I'm going to have to give to the iPad 2, even though it has less RAM in it. It's probably the way it's designed as far as the programming goes from the ground up. The accelerometer is faster, and the web browser had a slight edge to it. I can't really say it definitely had an edge all the time, but had a slight edge. And just all in all, iOS has somewhat of a polish. The transitions, everything's very smooth on the device. And that's not to say that things aren't smooth on the Android device either, because it's very much neck and neck. But as far as the user experience on it, it's slightly more polished on the iPad 2. So we're going to have to give the point over here. Now I know I awarded more points to the Motorola XOOM and Android, but the bottom line is this. I've given you all the information that I know of the differences, of the pros, of the cons of both of these devices. The thing now is for you to take that information in and see what you like better. I mean, if you just love Apple and you are so into their ecosystem where you use, you know, iTunes and you just like using it, then go with the Apple iPad. But if you want something different, if you like choice, if you like variety, if you like any of the things I told you in this video about the pluses of Android, then Android might be for you. As I said, I've awarded more points in this comparison to Android just because the device has a lot more options and is superior to the iPad in a lot of ways. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the device for you. I have chosen it because it's the device for me. I think anybody would be happy with either one of these devices. Like I said, I just hope I've given you the information that you need to make the choice for yourself. They're both excellent devices that anybody would be proud to own. And like I said, if you like Apple, you like the polish, you like what you see, then go with Apple. If you like the variety, if you like the power, if you like the voice search, if you like widgets and whatnot, then go with Android. So I hope I've given you enough information to make an informed decision of your own, because that's the most important thing. Use your brain, make the decision for yourself. I'm just trying to help you because I have both devices in front of me, so I can actually say, look, this is what you get with this is what you get with that. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Take care, and I will see you in my next video.